No, I wasn't.
All right, good evening, everybody. The members of the Board of Education of Goshen Central School District will be holding a public hearing tonight to discuss the volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers tax exemption. Directly following that will be the regular meeting. It's Monday, November 6th, 2023, 6:31. So I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance and directly following, have a moment of silence for Thomas Staley, who has recently passed away. He's a retired guidance counselor at Goshen High School.
Which stands one nation, indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. All right, during the public hearing, we're going to start with a short presentation by our Assistant Superintendent for Business, Ms. Lorraine Van Umren. Then we'll open it up to board member questions and comments, and then open discussion to any members here in attendance that would like to ask questions, share thoughts, and give their feedback. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Van Umren.
Thank you and good evening and welcome to the public hearing for the New York Real Property Tax Law 466A. This is the partial exemption on real property owned by volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. These are some of the options for the Board of Education to consider. Up to 10% of the exemption for the assessed value of property owned by enrolled members of the volunteer fire department or company or ambulance service. The volunteers must have a minimum of 2 years of service, and it can be required to be up to 5 before they get the exemption in place. There is also the option to grant a lifetime exemption after 20 years of service in that voluntary position. There's also the exemption to be considered for unmarried spouses of volunteers that were killed in the line of duty. And also another option for the exemption to be continued for unremarried spouses of deceased volunteers. The requirements of the volunteer fire company or department person or ambulance service worker, the property must be owned, enrolled, and owned by an enrolled and certified member of these departments. And the property must be located within the city, town, or village that is served by the incorporated fire company, department, or ambulance service of which the applicant is a member. All we have for the summary of this real property tax law. Are there any questions from the board first?
Very much.
You have a sample resolution. We do have to pass this before March in order for it to be effective on the September tax bills in September of 2020.
We have a quick question. So on here, you could say minimum of 2 years. On the handouts that we received, it said for New York State tax form, it's a minimum of 5. Just want to confirm it is 2.
It's a minimum of 2, but every taxing jurisdiction has the option to require it up to 5. So.
Quick question, I want to make sure I understand it correctly. It's my understanding that if the exemption is granted, somebody receives it, the district doesn't lose that money, it's just rebalanced amongst the non-participating people.
That's correct, yes. I call it a pie, and the
Sure.
piece of pie just changes depending upon the number of exemptions you have.
If I recall, I think one of the other questions that was posed, I know you can go to the maximum 10%. What other districts around have approved it for the maximum 10% exemption?
So far, all of them have that I am aware of, and I know there's a lot of them out there right now still considering being prepared. So far.
Is there a dollar amount? I understand it's 10%, but is there a dollar amount?
There's not, it's 10% of the assessed value, so, and the assessments can change depending on what town you're in, so. 10%.
Do we know how the certifications will be done? Like, what's the process to be,
So that is a procedure that we still need to set up with the town assessor, and it has to be done between the district and the assessor. So there is a form, I think I had a sample form that for you to see, and I will be talking with the assessor once this is passed to see what type of certification information.
also, did you get an idea from the other, you said you looked at other municipalities for the 2 to 5? You said they more went towards 10%. How about the years? What were they there? 2 years.
This may not be a question you know the answer to. Somebody in the audience might know the answer to. What is the certification process? So what deems 2 years of experience? Just 2 years being on the roster? Is there criteria they must meet?
That I'm not sure of, and again, that's a procedure we need to set up too with the assessor as
I
well.
have been reading this, I was setting him up.
Just press that button right there. My name's Rick Pearson. I'm one of the fire commissioners for the fire district. Being a member of the company, you have to make, rules, training, all that. And if you don't fail to do that, each company has a 6-month minimum. If you don't make it, you're removed from the rules and you're no longer a member. Just some things, the fire district has adopted this already. We went 3 years, not 2. We did 3 years. And the school districts I know that have adopted this already are so far, because the fire coordinator told me on Friday, I saw him, Monroe, Minnesink, and Pine Bush have all adopted it. I'm not aware of any other school districts that have adopted this. And the form, don't remember the number of it, it's like TL214 or something like that. And you just fill that out, it goes to the assessor's office, they verify with the fire district that you meet the requirements, and then it goes through from there.
I did hear Middletown.
Yes, Middletown. Yeah, Middletown, Pine Bush, and Minnesink. Minnesink, I believe, was the first one to do it.
Thank you for stepping up and answering the question. Any further board member comments or questions? All right, great. Anybody else out there in attendance who'd like to come up and speak, ask a question, share their opinion? Once, or twice. All right, I think this concludes the public hearing portion of the meeting.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody. That's good. All right, I need a motion to reconvene the regular meeting. Shannon? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Next on the agenda, need a motion to go into executive session. John? Shannon? Be it resolved, the Board of Education will enter into executive session with the intent to reconvene the business persons meeting for discussions related to a legal proposal for the appointment of a particular corporation. All those in favor? Aye. Need a motion to reconvene the meeting? Ashley, all those in favor? Aye. Votes? Thank you. Moving on, we have privilege of the floor. As you can see tonight, if you've been here before, we've revised our privilege of the floor forms. You'll notice there's some language in there also that we discussed openly at the last meeting as well, regarding timing, clearing some things up. So thank you for filling these out. All right, persons wishing to speak should first be recognized by the president, then identify themselves. Any group or organization wishing to address the board must identify a single spokesperson. Comments shall be brief and concise, generally not exceeding 4 minutes in length per speaker, which may be extended at the discretion of the board president. Each privilege of the floor session is not to exceed 32 minutes in length. Speakers may comment on matters related to district or business only. The board will not permit public session discussions involving individual district personnel by name or by title or students. Persons wishing to discuss matters involving district personnel or students should present their comments and or concerns to the superintendent during regular business hours. All speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Obscene language, libelous statements, threats of violence, statements advocating racial, religious, or other forms of prejudice will not be tolerated. Right. First on the list here is Melissa Gallo. Just press the button.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I promise I'll behave. My name is Melissa Gallo. My husband Brian and I have lived in Goshen for 20 years. We have 2 children in the Goshen School District. We are all very active in the community, and I have also served as a town member for the town of Goshen, a board member. First and foremost, thank you for serving as school board members and for allowing us to speak at this meeting. Back in 2020, we notified the school that our daughter lacked basic punctuation and spelling skills. She was also struggling with reading, writing, and had difficulties comprehending passages. Previously, she had received 2 years of academic intervention services for reading when she was in grade school. As concerned parents, we asked the school for an evaluation, which was done. It showed that, among other things, she was reading well below her grade level. They also noted that she exhibited several indicators for dyslexia. Regardless of these testing results and findings, my daughter was only giving AIS for 20 minutes a day for 3 days for a short period of time. No other services were discussed or offered. As we continued to see our daughter struggle, and at the recommendation of a friend who has a background in special education, we opted to have her evaluated independently. At that point, we really did not have much faith in any further evaluations or recommendations from the school. After spending thousands of dollars in extensive testing, our independent neuropsychologist confirmed what we had suspected all along, that our daughter had attention deficit hyperactivity disorder along with a specific learning disorder of dyslexia. ADHD is a chronic condition which often begins in childhood and can persist into adulthood. It may contribute to low self-esteem, troubled relationships, and difficulties at school or work. Dyslexia is a type of learning disability. A person with a learning disability has trouble processing words or numbers. There are several kinds of learning disabilities. Dyslexia is the term used when people have trouble learning to read, even though they are smart and are motivated to learn. People with dyslexia are not stupid or lazy. Most have average or above average intelligence, and they work very hard to overcome their reading problems. Dyslexia happens because of a difference in the way the brain processes information. Pictures of the brain show that when people with dyslexia read, they use different parts of the brain than people without dyslexia. These pictures also show that the brains of people with dyslexia don't work efficiently during reading. So that's why reading seems such slow, hard work. Most students with dyslexia work with a specially trained teacher, tutor, or reading specialist to learn how to read, spell, and manage the condition. Some might work with an academic therapist, also called an education therapist, or an academic language therapist who is trained to work with students specifically with dyslexia. Further testing showed that our 14-year-old 9th grader was reading at the 7th grade level, and her basic reading skills were at a 5th grade level. As a result, we were told that she would need a structured reading program specifically designed for adolescents with dyslexia. We also had her evaluated by a pediatrician who concurred with this diagnosis. We forwarded the reports from our experts to PPS and requested a meeting to discuss services. At that meeting, PPS advised that despite her disabilities, our daughter had good grades and was not a behavioral problem. Therefore, she did not qualify for an IEP, and that there were other children who were much worse than she was. Further, they only offered a 504 plan for extended time for state exams. My husband and I were incredibly disappointed. We see how hard our daughter struggles every day in order to get the grades she gets, working twice as hard for half the results. What was most infuriating was that her 504 plan that they drafted specifically included language that her disability affected her ability to learn. On page 2 of her 504, quote, "The student has a diagnosis of ADHD and specific learning disability, which substantially limits learning." The extended time they offered cost them nothing financially, but also does nothing to help with her disabilities. Again, unhappy with what PPS offered, we requested mediation. That occurred this October and lasted 1.5 hours. In that meeting, our mediator repeatedly asked PPS what they could do to help this child with her disabilities. 5 times, PPS said she did not qualify as she was currently testing at her grade level. Mind you, only 1 test out of the many she had failed. 5 times, the mediator asked her. At one point, he even said, "This is crazy, and I guess the child needs to fail in order for the school to provide services." After the 5th time he asked, PPS said they'd be willing to update her 504 to include services that should have been provided to begin with, to include redirection, seat preference, additional time for testing. These are services that U.S. federal law entitles kids and teens with reading and other language-based disabilities to have regardless. Again, services that, again, cost PPS nothing to provide. And pushed again for Orton Gillingham, another structured reading service, PPS finally offered to speak with the school to see if they could get her some additional AS for reading. And they wondered if this was an option, why didn't they have a school representative present that could have offered these services during our mediation or to begin with, or why it took them 1.5 hours to offer. So our daughter struggles every day because she lacks the basic foundation needed to be the most successful person she can be. She should be getting the services she needs regardless of her behavior or grades. She should have an IEP in place, as the school acknowledges in writing that her disability substantially limits her learning. So if her disability substantially limits her learning, why aren't they providing the necessary services? Because they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to pay for Orton Gillingham or another structured reading program designed for adolescents with ADHD and dyslexia. Our daughter is very lucky to have an incredible memory, which we are told has helped her compensate for her disabilities over the years. She also takes medication that helps improve with focus and increases her attention span. We are now contemplating our next steps as parents, as we know her workload will only get harder and harder. Her dream is to be a doctor, and as loving parents, we will support and ensure that she achieves that dream. I hope that our experience has given you some valuable insight, and I hope that you can help families whose disabled children are blocked at every turn by the Goshen School District's PPS. It's very clear that when it comes to any services they have to pay for, families are denied. They need to hear from us that all children with disabilities should be treated equally. Thank you again for your time and service.
Thank you, Sharon. We only had 3 people signed up here tonight. I do want to try to keep things as concise as possible, and I really don't want to interrupt anyone. We did go over a little there, but I do thank you for having something prepared that you can read. So folks, just please be mindful of that moving forward. And thank you again. All right. Next up, we have Michelle DeSimone.
Hi, thank you for having me and allowing me to speak. Before I share my family story, I'd like to give you some background about myself, so it would give you some better understanding of where I come from. I work in information systems at a local hospital. I have been directly involved in technology initiatives to improve transparency, streamline processes, reduce errors, promote patient engagement, and prevent medical record information blocking. With that being said, I'd like to share my family story with you. So, I'm a member of the Goshen SEPSA, and prior to joining the association, I have voiced concerns. We've gone through the process of trying to get extra services to help my child stay at grade level. At first, my child was evaluated. The first time my child was evaluated was at the age of 4. My child had a complete evaluation and was approved for multiple services and directly saw results. When my child was evaluated by the Goshen School District, my child's services were scaled back. In the middle of first grade, an interim teacher recommended my child to be reevaluated for services. That led to my child eventually receiving 504 basic accommodations, such as prioritized seating, redirection, etc. My child had to score poorly on the MAPS test in order to qualify for much needed ELA support. A year later, in the spring of second grade, it was identified my child was in need of math services. This past summer, we decided to get our child evaluated by Huntington Learning Center to get an independent academic evaluation. They found our child was way below her grade level and in some areas 2 grades below where she should be. After learning about these deficiencies, we immediately hired a tutor and scheduled a developmental pediatrician evaluation. The evaluation completed by the doctor highly recommended my child receive full reevaluation from PPS. I attended the parent orientation, printed out supporting material for my child's reevaluation. I tried to submit it directly to the teacher and she recommended for me to hand it in the next day. I met the principal on my way out and he graciously took the request for my child's full reevaluation. My understanding was that the request was being processed and would be passed along to PPS. I followed up a week later via email with the principal and nothing happened with the request. Then I was told that I needed to speak with the principal to go over in detail why I was requesting a reevaluation, which I already had done on 9/13. I was then directed. Yeah.
Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt, I'm sorry. Let you continue. We would like it if you could type out there who you spoke with.
What?
Just if you could keep the titles of the people that you spoke with
Oh, I thought we just removed names
and titles.
and titles.
Yes, we're trying
Okay.
to really uphold the policy. I didn't mean to interrupt, please continue.
Okay, okay, I'm sorry. I was then directed to the person's assistant to schedule a phone meeting with the person to go over the request in more detail. On the day of the meeting, I eagerly waited for the scheduled call to take place and discuss next steps. Never happened. I emailed that person and PPS about being stood up and received a phone call from that person and 10 minutes later. That person explained he needed to review every application prior to moving it over to PPS. He approves the request and was told the paperwork for reevaluation would be mailed to me to be completed in a few days. Over a week, we didn't get the paperwork, and again, I reached out to PPS and was told it was sent. I eventually went to PPS in person to pick up the packet because I didn't want any further delays. I got the packet and it asked for my child's detailed medical history starting at birth. Keep in mind, PPS has those records of my child's file and previously took hours to complete. We are disappointed with the lack of concern and communication for our child's education. Something needs to change and the system's flawed. Communication needs to be improved and transparency needs to happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. Next on the list, we have Edward. Edward. Okay, do you have any additional signups?
No more.
Great, thank you. All right, moving on to the next item here, President's Report. We've already seen the privilege of the floor sign up. So thank you, folks. We've been trying our best to improve that process for everybody. Next item that I wanted to just point out, I feel very lucky here in Goshen. We have so many accomplishments by our students, student athletes and artists and music department. Frequently, kids are making it to state level competition. Congratulations, cross country runners. Teams making it to sections. But if you had the opportunity to go to Goshen High School a few nights ago and see the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime, you would have been blown away. Is not even the words to describe the type of performance that these students, the artistic direction and the tech team put on. It was nothing short of a professional performance. And there's no competition for them, but if they were in one, they would have been national champions. And for everybody out there who was part of that on all sides, it was phenomenal. Absolutely. What they're doing in that program right now is outstanding. So big congratulations to all of them. The talent is just through the roof with that group. It was an outstanding performance. So I wanted to mention that and say congratulations to all those involved. Another item I just wanted to throw out there, frequently on the consent agendas, we have a very large sum of information that's approved, whether it be obsolete equipment or, employees going on leave. But often there's a lot of folks who are given an appointment, and sometimes it's a temporary appointment, sometimes it's a initial appointment. And, I think I just want to say a quick thank you to all of them, because it takes a lot of people to make this district run, not just our teachers and our admins and our central staff, but we have people on transportation, drivers, monitors, and food service, cooks and helpers, attendance officers, substitute teachers and coaches, and all of these folks get appointed in that consent agenda, all rolled into one. And so I just wanted to say, congrats to all of them. It gets rolled into one big approval, but it's an entire community that it takes to run the district. There's a lot of folks out there doing good work, so congratulations to all of them. All right, next on our agenda here, we have our student representatives report.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So at the high school, we recently had our college fair and NCAA information night, and many student athletes and parents were able to come out and gather information from the admission counselors and to continue their college searches. And to piggyback off of what Mr. Loftus said, the Goshen Drama Club performed The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, directed by Mr. Quinlan and Mrs. Scully. This show is a very moving, spectacular watch, and our students are just so talented. You never want to miss a Goshen show. And speaking of Goshen shows, it is announced that we will be doing SpongeBob the musical at the high school, and also Annie Jr. at CJ Hooker. And winter sports and activities are open to sign up for. Many students have started their pre-seasons, and also I can't forget to mention how Halloween went. GIS and SAS students had their Halloween parades, and they were very excited to show off their costumes. It was adorable. Not to mention the Interact and Leo clubs of the high school helped out at the Halloween party and the trunk or treat at Craig'sville Park. That concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, moving on, we have our legislative update. Mr. Johnson.
The November meeting for Oxford was canceled. So not much of an update. Congressman Ryan was scheduled to speak, but unfortunately had to cancel the council meeting. So look forward to providing an update after December's meeting.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any other board member committee reports? We had a meeting of the policy committee. We have a few policies here that are up for first reading tonight. We have two of them. We have one policy that's up for first reading and readoption. The edits were very minor. We thought that the board would be open to that. So I think we can go ahead and move into our first reading. Letter A on your agenda is the reimbursement for meals and refreshments, policy 5323. Any questions, comments, or concerns on this policy thus far? Still? Okay. So moving on to the next one then. Letter B on the agenda, budgetary transfers, number 5330. Comments, questions, and concerns on this one?
I just have a question on the increase from $25,000 to $35,000. Is that monthly? Is that in the budget line? Is that discussed?
Like past practice, by budget.
By budget line. So there's potential that there could be multiple $34,000 transfers in a month that the board is unaware.
Well, they're reported at the meeting though, so
Okay.
we would do them without authorization by the board. This allows the superintendent or designee to transfer up to the 35,000, and then we still have to report it to the board, the ones that fall under that.
Piggybacking on that question, we had other policies from other surrounding districts. Does anyone have language in there? Do you recall? Have a frequency?
They all had a cap on frequency, in general, such as ours, but if you're asking per line, Liberty did have one that specified the question that you just asked. But it was very detailed, so that's why. And plus, as I said, it's past practice to do so.
Would you like to take a look at the one from Liberty? During the policy meeting, they were all printed from the different districts.
Yeah, if you could send them to me, yeah, that'd be great.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? No. Okay. Right, and agenda item C, public participation in meetings, number 3225. The editor on that. This is the one with the intention to also re-adopt it. Everyone's agreed. Right, questions, comments, concerns regarding this one? Very good, hopefully all the policies will be this easy. Shannon, do you-
No, I'm good, thank you.
Sure, okay, just check.
Yep.
All right, moving on to our next item. We have our Assistant Superintendent for Business Report, Ms. Maria Van.
You, tonight, we do not have any financial information in the packets, so I just wanted to give you an update with the electric bus purchase. The Director of Transportation and I have a meeting with our vendor scheduled for next week. And we're trying to participate in the voucher rebate program where we get $100,000 to $220,000 back in a rebate, depending on the weight of the bus that we purchase. So, and what'll happen is they can actually just take it off of our invoice rather than having to pay upfront and send in the paperwork to participate. I'm also working on a form that we are going to send out to O&R Orange and Rockland to review our electricity needs up at the bus garage. And that should be coming out sometime this week. That's all I have. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, Personnel and Technology Report, Mr. Jason Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus. Good evening, everyone. So I do have a brief update for you, as requested regarding Atlas Security and our literacy and math programs. So regarding Atlas Security, that bid, if you recall, was awarded on February 6th, and Atlas did begin with us the very next day on February 7th. So just to refresh everyone's memories, we do have at any one given point in time, 3 or 4 security team members at the high school. We also have 2 at CJ Hooker. We do not have any members of the Atlas security team currently at GIS or Scotchtown. However, keep in mind we do have some of our GCSD student supervisors there that also assist. In speaking with our principals, even again today at Cabinet, I believe that they feel strongly in favor of Atlas. They're very pleased with the service that they're providing. I feel that they contribute greatly to keeping our hallways safe and sound, and also monitoring student activities throughout the day, and also after school hours. It's not uncommon to see some of our Atlas representatives, some of our extracurricular events, some of our club events. So their presence is certainly duly noted, and I do believe that everyone is quite comfortable with that. It is a little difficult right now to give you a comparison as far as the number of referrals or offenses because of that start time. But I did go back and look at September to somewhat of a current date for last year and this year for just a small comparison. And percentage wise, we are seeing decreases in the number of referrals and the number of offenses. I would say that the larger percentage is evident at the high school level. So we're quite pleased with that. But again, everything is on a downward trend right now, but it is early and we need some more time to go on. So we can provide another update with some other figures for you as we have some more time spent with that. You had asked about scholastic literacy. So if you recall, we did begin training in September and we carried that on through October. And once again, we do have some training scheduled for tomorrow. That falls in line with what we had previously planned. Also, throughout that time, we've had multiple check-ins with the scholastic team, with our leadership team involved. And our principals have access to scholastic as needed to have discussions with the trainers. Although it may not happen often, it is still there for them. So again, right now, we are set up for another round of coaching day tomorrow. We were scheduled for a monthly leadership check-in today. Unfortunately, that was canceled by Scholastic due to some of their travel arrangements and trying to manage that schedule. So we will reschedule that quickly and gather some more information. I do believe that everyone responsible for implementation is quite pleased with the program. I hear nothing but positive feedback, and I do believe that right down to the digital components, everyone's pleased. Regarding Math and Focus, so again, Math and Focus professional developments began in September and also ran through October. My most recent meeting with Houghton Mifflin and the executive that we deal with, Miss Allen, was last week. So I did speak to her for a few reasons, just trying to gather some more information and set up some more specific trainings based on feedback that I'm receiving. We did deal with Miss Terry Goldfisher, who is also the professional development representative from Houghton Mifflin. She's been here to provide, or rather she's provided coaching in a virtual sense. Our principals do have access to Terry and her team as needed. We do have, so we began with 32 online sessions available for coaching. That number has since, come down. I can get you the exact number of what remains, but it's still quite high and it's accessible as needed. And I would say that we do that based on feedback that's provided. Additionally, I have spoken with Jacqueline Ellison of Orangeville BOCES and the Technology Integration Department regarding model schools and what they may be able to offer us with a specific focus, as you would imagine, with some of the digital skills and integration of the program into Google Classroom and beyond. We've talked about integration with IXL because they do have a skill builder set that is aligned with Math and Focus, and I think that's very important. But I also think that we need some coaching with that. If you recall, we've had some IXL coaching for the purposes of growth monitoring and assessment. And now we have an opportunity to get a little bit more granular with Math and Focus skill sets. So that is in the works. I've also spoken with Dr. Lang, who is a part of the instructional team, or rather the director of the instructional team at BOCES, to talk about what coaching may be available from BOCES. It's something that we've done in the past, but it goes beyond what Houghton Mifflin as a company or any company could offer. It's a little bit more personalized, and as we've done in the past, what I had said in the past at the building level was that if we can have a trainer who comes in and has an opportunity to make the curriculum dance a little bit, it really goes for them. So we are working on that. Those conversations were also early last week. We're just waiting for a little bit of information to be gathered and some responses to come back my way. As far as feedback, I think you have some people who are quite comfortable with Math and Focus, and I also think you have some that are a little bit more in need of coaching on the digital platform side. When you have a program like Scholastic that really has a ton of bells and whistles, I think it leaves you wanting and longing for more from other programs that may not have as much. So that is some of the feedback that I've received. Again, we'll continue to work with Jacqueline Ellison and Dana Groper and in addition to Miss Allen and Miss Goldfisher from Human Myth. Also wanted to mention that on November 14th, we'll be sending a team of faculty and staff members from Goshen Central Schools over to BOCES to take part in Smart Start grant program training. So the Smart Start grant program is unique in that it focuses on K-8 faculty and staff members and really expanding their knowledge of the digital fluency standards and the ability to implement digital fluency skills in the classroom setting. So this will be a train the trainer model. So we've asked our principals to gather a team from each building, again, K-8, that can go to BOCES, receive the training over the course of 4 seminar sessions, and then come back and meet with their departments and grade levels to share the knowledge and really be a part of spreading that innovation when it comes to digital fluency and digital standards. So again, that will begin on November 14th. It is a series of 4 seminars, and each seminar focuses on a core competency in digital fluency. So we will begin that. I know the next one scheduled is in January, and we are still in the process of gathering our team. So I want to thank our principals for working with me and collaborating with that. It will be nice and if they're part of the digital fluency standard. I also wanted to jump in and say congratulations and thank you to all involved with the theatrical event that we had over the weekend. As you know, we have a great music and arts program, and we're very proud of that. But behind the scenes, there are hundreds of hours that go into making that special. And our teachers, our supervisors, and our students work extremely hard. So we're grateful and congratulations to all. And that will conclude my report this evening.
Very much those updates were achieved. Done. To approve the consent agenda. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor? Opposed? On to small business, I need a motion to adopt the governance team handbook. Scott, Shannon. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education adopts the governance team handbook dated November 6, 2023, for the 2023-2024 school year. All those in favor? Opposed? Good work, team. Need a motion to approve policy update, first reading and readoption of public participation at board meetings, 3225. Billy? Brett? Be it resolved upon the recommendations of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the first reading, waives the second reading, readopts the following policy. Policy number 3225, public participation at board meetings. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? I need a motion to approve minutes. Shannon and Billy. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the minutes of the October 16, 2023 regular board meeting and October 23rd, 2023 special board meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to approve the budgetary transfers. Billy and Ashley. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the following budgetary transfers over $25,000 for the month of September 2023. BOCES services, account code changes, increased fees, post-budget developments, $36,743.29. Increased pre-K costs to meet the needs of students, $63,826. Increase in the number of students attending private day placements, $160,000. Creation of SAS teaching assistant position for special education needs, $46,300. All those in favor? I need a motion to establish accounts in Goshen High School extra classroom activity fund. Got John and Brett. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, that an account for the following clubs be established within the extra classroom activity fund at Goshen High School. Establish club fund. Faculty club advisor. Let's see, establish club fund, class of 2027. Faculty club advisors, Maggie Davin and Elizabeth Gann. PB&J Positivity Balance and Joy Club. Armina Villegas and Rosemary Oken. Esports Club, Hunter Mullane and Dylan Johnson. Be it further resolved that the faculty club advisors are authorized to sign disbursement orders, receipts, and otherwise oversee the accounts in accordance with district policies and procedures outlined in the New York State Education Department guidelines entitled The Safeguarding, Accounting, and Auditing of Extra Classroom Activity Funds. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, sorry, I got your names wrong there. I need a motion to accept donations and authorize the increase in the budget. Ashley Scott. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education accepts the following donations from the Scotchtown Avenue Elementary School PTO. $18.50 to support the printing of flyers, $4,494.40 to support first grade and kindergarten field trips, for a total of $4,512.90. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education approves increasing the 2023-2024 budget by $4,512.90 to support the associated expenditures. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Sorry, there's just a bunch of stuff on the back, making sure it's the same. Yes. Okay. I need a motion to adopt the 2024-2025 budget development calendar. Sharon and Billy. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the adoption of the 2024-2025 budget development calendar. All those in favor? Aye. Need a motion to approve agreement for special education services, Cornwall CSD. Ashley and Brett. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education enters into an agreement with Cornwall Central School District to provide special education services to a Goshen Central School District student during the 2023-2024 school year, as per rates set by the New York State Department of Education in the amount of $50,809.68. All those in favor? Opposed? Need a motion to approve agreement for special education services, sub-allocation of IDEA, ARP 611 and 619 funds. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education entered into an agreement with Liberty Resources to provide special education services for students and for the district to sub-allocate IDEA, ARP 611 and 619 funds to said providers on a per student basis for the grant year between July 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2023. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? I need a motion to ratify the appointment of impartial hearing officer. John. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education ratifies the appointment of impartial hearing officer, Tina Milton Esquire, for file number 110623. Compensation will be made at the hourly rate currently approved by the State Education Department, pursuant to 200.21 regulations of the Commissioner. All those in favor? Check the back of the page. Need a motion to approve amendment to the agreement with the law office of Anthony Brock. Scott. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the amendment to the agreement with the law office of Anthony Brock to provide investigative service effective October 23rd, 2023. And be it further resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the board president to execute the amendment to the agreement. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? I need a motion to approve amendment to the agreement for special education services, teacher of visually impaired educator, evaluator. Ashley, John. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves an amendment to the 2023-2024 agreement for special education, Jennifer Kirk, to provide teacher of the visually impaired evaluator services for students IEP as follows. Addition of in-home vision therapy services, $90 per 30-minute session. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent of schools to execute the agreement. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Did we receive any additional signups for approval of the board? Are there any issues that would like to be discussed?
I know a couple of weeks ago, I believe we talked about the SET, which was the free and reduced lunch. I know some districts have had some success, some success with applying for it now that New York State has lowered the threshold. And maybe for our next meeting, we can just find out where we are with that. And if we do meet the threshold, and if we don't, I'm just curious to know how far off we are on that threshold.
I can actually answer that.
Oh, great.
Our director of the cafeteria lunch fund, actually, we met today and he has run the report 3 times now and we've gone from 115 down to 72, down to 39. So we are just short 39 students
9 students.
to get us to see people. So he's continuing to monitor this because we have seen other districts in the area qualify for it. So he is keeping a good eye on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's good and it's it's tough, so. So we'll continue to keep you updated if we have any changes before the next meeting, I'll let you know.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other comments, concerns, questions? Board?
Mr. Loftus, I apologize for the interruption, but may I say something regarding employee concern?
Please go ahead.
So Walter Thompson is in our crowd this evening, and he has been moved up to computer network specialist. So as you had mentioned, we have many valuable employees here who do an awful lot for the district, and Walter is a critical part of our network specialist team. He's a good right hand for Mr. Starrett, and we just wanted to congratulate and recognize him this evening.
Anything else? All right, very good. I need a motion to go into executive session. Ashley, Shannon. Be resolved, the Board of Education will enter into an executive session with the intent not to reconvene the business portion of the meeting for discussions related to employment history and particular personal issues. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.